Uy, good evening, everyone. Really psyched to have Corey with us, where we'll be talking about his journey, how he started his business, set of challenges that he faced. So, uh, thanks a lot, Corey, for joining this. Thanks a lot for taking out the time, and obviously, really excited to start the session.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we'll just dive into it. So I'll start with the first and the most important sort of question that uh, a lot of people that want to start businesses have, which is like, how did you think about starting a business in electrical services? For that matter, obviously, like you could talk about local services and then specifically going into electrical services. Like, what was your thought process and how you went about finalizing this as the industry that you want to cater to?
So essentially, I was an electrician for a long time, working on the tools, working at a company, and I didn't really have a plan to start my own business, to be honest. I was just working away, doing my apprenticeship. Um, but something starts to happen over all those years. You start to have your own ideas. You're working for a company and you start thinking, hey, why are we doing it this way? Maybe we should do this. Or you just essentially you start to have too many ideas to work for somebody else. And so yeah, that ended, and I just sort of fell into doing my own thing. And at that time it was just me working by myself. Sure, did I have a business? Yes, but it was just me doing electrical work. It was nothing like what it is now, really. So not a lot of thought early on about it.
That's interesting, right? Like, I guess the biggest sort of a learning that anyone can take from this is that you loved it, you're doing this, and the
Hmm.
biggest sort of thing was taking the plunge and saying that, okay, I'll do this for myself instead of, let's say, doing it for someone else. And obviously, like, once you do that, honestly, no one really knows about how the journey will be like.
No.
Even if someone, let's say, is like, let's say he thought about this and he wants to do that, still no one knows about the journey and what sort of challenges there will be.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the
And I
biggest
was,
thing is taking that plunge.
I was young, I had no family, no girlfriend, no wife, nothing like that. So I had all the time in the world, and it wasn't I didn't really start doing it for, money. It's not really really wasn't in my head at the time.
That's true, right? Like I was like in the other podcast session, like one of the biggest things that someone mentioned that he was like the biggest thing that he feels someone should start a business is purpose. Like unless they have a
Mm,
purpose, they
yeah,
shouldn't do this. And like that's what you mentioned, right? Like it wasn't just about money. It was because you wanted to do this, you loved doing this, and then you were like, okay,
totally.
I would want to do this. So it again resonates with what he said, right? And essentially everyone knows that, but I guess more and more people, when they say it out, then like anyone who's looking to start something should really take that in and consider that okay, it's not just about money, or is it's not just about, let's say, doing a hobby. It's real work, and therefore there has to be a purpose of why you're doing this.
Well, and there's that I was just reading that it's like a Simon Sinek book, Start With Why. That's like a real classic book that everyone reads.
True.
So, yeah.
That's true. Great. So the other sort of an aspect that anyone when starts a business is there are lots of challenges, right, that you will face. Like
Hmm.
as I just
Hmm.
talked about that, when you started, you didn't really know what the journey will be looking like. So
No,
along the
no.
path, what sort of like let's say the top two challenges that you would have faced, what was those challenges and how you worked around them?
I think everyone's going to have different strengths and weaknesses. So I had some strengths of sort of like hiring people, sales, marketing. These were like strengths of mine, still are kind of. And um, weaknesses for me, the big one that I can think of would be knowing your numbers. Um, building a budget, mm, you know, learning about gross margin, gross profit, and actually pricing your work properly. Um, so that would be one. I think a lot of business owners really struggle with that. And the other one would be sort of systems in your business, having systems. I'm really obsessed with systems now, but early on I probably wasn't as much as I should have been. So those would be the two for sure.
So basically, like what you're trying to say is that obviously you'll have to have systems. Like you have to understand your strengths. You'll have to capitalize on them, but at the same time, you as a person need to understand that these are some of the weaknesses, and maybe the way that you can tackle that down is maybe get someone who can look at that aspect, or at the same time understand the importance of it, look into that a bit more, maybe spend more hours
Yeah.
than someone who has that as a strength and maybe work on it.
Yep.
So I guess
Yep.
that's the
Well, and
that's
start thinking about, okay, this week we did this one task 10 times. Okay, well, if you're doing it 10 times over and over again, sounds like you need a system for that. And so start building that system or writing down, this is how we do this. If you take a deposit before every job, well, come up with a system or use a CRM to make sure you get that deposit, and then don't break your own systems. And really, when you're starting a business out, you could start with 5 systems, 5 things that you're going to write down on paper, that this is the way we are going to do this every single time. And then go from there, and you can get crazy later on with all kinds of systems and automations and stuff like that. But yeah, they're huge. Everyone tries to do everything at the beginning, of course.
that's true, right? Like I guess understanding that there are some things that are going to be similar or redundant, and therefore, I guess like as everyone says, right? Like the difficult sort of a thing is to do the same job again and again because everyone wants to have some more things that are exciting, and therefore doing the same thing back and again is difficult. And therefore, if you have certain processes, let's say if you can break it down into 5 steps for each of the
Yeah.
things, and one thing is that you would never go into uh, instance of doing mistakes. I won't say ever, but like you can really minimize
Yeah.
that a lot. And then when it comes to providing the services, it's about how good you are at that, and therefore those
You
processes, those systems can help you.
Yeah, you want it to be as boring as possible. And then, once the systems are in place, you're essentially just running clients through your processes, and it is kind of boring in a way, but you want it boring. You want it to go the same way every time, do the same steps, and have the same outcome every time where you make money. So, yeah.
Yeah, as a lot of people say that uh, boring businesses are the ones that really make money. So
Yeah.
I totally agree to that.
Yeah, totally. I see a lot of
Mhm.
businesses where people, maybe it's a kitchen cabinet company, and people go, well, I wish they did this additional thing. And I'm like, no, they're niched. That's all they do. They're really good at it, and they crush it out job after job after job, and they don't stray away from it and try to be too much. It's smart.
So, so
Yeah.
that's true. So the next thing, right, like which is obviously when it comes to businesses, growth is something that every business has to go through and has to work on. So let's say what have been the biggest or the best channels for you in terms of acquiring new clients? I'm not talking about just let's say digitally, but any channel that has worked well for you, which someone wants to start needs to look at to grow their business.
I'm just thinking of our lead sources really off the top of my head, and the main one that's really unbeaten is word of mouth. That's typically everyone's. And word of mouth is, it means you're doing a good job all the time. It means you're not burning bridges, you know? It means you are, if you made a mistake, you go back and you fix it. And, you could do a horrible job on a project maybe, but at least at the end of it, you like leave those people with a good taste in their mouth. So there's a lot, I believe, that goes into word of mouth, and we're super obsessed with um, customer service, or seeing everything through like how the client would see it, or what I would expect if someone was coming to my house. We're really, really obsessive with it. Um, the second thing our second best lead source, especially with electrical service, is Google. Um, and really having a Google guy, or a Google person, and taking Google seriously, taking your SEO seriously, and not trying to do it yourself, getting an expert. Um, so those are my top two lead sources, of course, probably everyone's top two lead sources. I do a lot of networking too. So you and I are both in BNI, so and I'll go to other BNI groups. Like I just went to Coquitlam BNI group yesterday, and then today I had my BNI group. So um, I think having a large network is really important. If you're going to have a sales person, or if you are the salesperson in your business, like you better know a lot of people. It helps. It's really nice.
True. Since there are lots of people that don't know what BNI is,
Hmm.
so would you want to take a minute in terms of maybe just
Yeah,
like since it's been what like more than 9 years for you with BNI, so if you can just
sure.
talk about in a minute and then obviously talk about what sort of role has BNI played in your business journey.
Yeah, so BNI stands for Business Networking International. You'll usually find one in every city, give or take. And it's local businesses coming together 1 day a week. They usually have breakfast or lunch. And essentially, if you have like 30 or 40 people in that group, they are your outside sales team. So you are the only electrician in the group, or you are the only plumber in the group. You meet up and you say, "Hey guys, this week I'm really looking for people that want a home backup generator. If if someone mentions a power outage to you, I want you to go talk to that person and refer us." And think about that when you leave this meeting. And then you're doing the same for other people. So it's referral network marketing, I guess they kind of say. And when I started BNI, I had no real clue what it was, but I actually used it as business coaching, kind of. So there was other businesses in the group. There was really established businesses. There was people that have been in business a long time and that were very successful. And I sort of watched them very closely. At the same time, we were, passing referrals, but it started off a little bit of business coaching for me. And then, now it's definitely all referrals. But I love it, and I just passed $1 million of referred business to me, which is a big milestone last year. So
That's amazing,
that's
right? Like $1 million
a
coming
million
in
bucks.
from,
Yeah.
well, that's an amazing sort of a feat, I guess. Every BNI member wants to reach that. But one thing that I can take from your journey, right? Like as you mentioned, it's been 9 years, so obviously it's a lot of work. Like you mentioned, the number of meetings that you would have attended or the type of work that you would have done is incredible because it's easy for anyone and everyone to have, let's say, or visualize that they want to get a certain number out of that, but putting in those sort of efforts, those hours, like you mentioned, you're not just, let's say, attending meetings in your chapter, but then going outside as well and attending things there. So
Yeah.
it just talks about the type of efforts that you need to do, like that, meeting new people, networking, putting in those efforts,
Yeah.
understanding how to do. Because another thing that I really love about BNI is the trainings that it provides, because uh,
Hmm.
the type of learnings that they will give, the like type of learnings that they will impart in terms of how to talk to people, maybe how to pitch, how to have a unique 30-second presentation, right? Like
That for
those,
sure. For
that
sure. And
those,
and and how to be the big one I see a lot is how to be really specific.
yeah,
So you don't want to go there, and you don't want to do this in business either, but you don't want to go there and go, we do this and we do this, we do all that. Like I could say we do all kinds of electrical, but what does that mean really? Um, so, really niching your down, so when I'm there every week, I say we do small electrical jobs. I try to be specific, not just, oh yeah, we do residential, commercial. Well, that's like the standard spiel you hear, but we do small electrical jobs, those little things around your house. That's what we do. Um, so,
that's true, right? Like I guess that's something that even I learned in BNI, which is be as clear, be as
hmm
specific as you can. Because when you say that you do everything, people won't come to you for anything because they don't really
Yeah.
know of which sort of a thing they need to come. They'll be like, this person is maybe over the place, and I don't even know which particular thing I should talk to them about because I represent performance marketing, right? Like, and performance marketing is, let's say, a subcategory of digital marketing, but I never say that we are into digital marketing. I specify that we are into performance marketing because we run ads. Like the one statement, as you mentioned, like you said that you do small electrical jobs. So I say that we run ads. That's what I say. Like obviously we do, let's say, SEO, we do other things as well, but the biggest sort of thing that we do is we run ads on Google, Meta, all of these platforms, right? So that's something that even I learned after a few months that I shouldn't say
Hmm.
that we do
Totally.
everything. I was like,
I know
okay,
it.
we do.
Some people don't know, if you say I do, digital marketing, like they don't have a
Yeah,
clue, Yeah.
yeah. That's true. Even when I chose performance marketing, even lesser people knew about what performance marketing is than digital
Mm,
marketing. But then I was like, okay, this might take some time, but if I'm going to be specific, it is going to help me in the long run because I'm going to
sure.
meet people not just in my chapter, but in the other chapters as well. And therefore, the ones that really know what performance marketing is, I guess they are anyways my ideal sort of a customers or ideal people that I will get business from. So I was like, okay, let's be specific. Let's be clear in terms of what I do. So I totally
Hmm.
relate to that. Cool. The other thing specifically when it comes to local services, right? It's not a, let's say I would say a general business or a normal business wherein you're like you can't really market yourself like a t-shirt brand. You can't be like, okay, you need a cool t-shirt, go and buy from us because uh, actually let's say we consider users into two different funnels. One is people that really need something and they'll go on Google and they'll search for it. And as you mentioned that you get a lot of leads from Google or SEO. But then there are people that obviously can come in through your Instagram, your socials, and all of that. And
Hmm.
that's where you will do your brand awareness or, let's say, awareness activities in general, right? So, how do you, how do you think about doing that? Because at the end of the day, the real customer for you is someone who is going to face a problem, and it's impossible to know that there is someone who is facing the problem right now.
Yeah.
But the biggest sort of thing for you is to have that sort of a recall that, okay, when you face this sort of a problem, this is when you need to contact us. So how do you do
I
that?
I think for especially social media like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube even, to me, those are more top of mind platforms. Google is really where they're gonna go when the lights are out and they look and they go, oh, they have the most reviews. These guys must be good. I'll read a few. Oh, this Corey guy seems nice. I'll call him. Um, so that's how I treat those two platforms. I used to post quite a bit on Facebook and Instagram. I've sort of cooled off a little bit, and I'm really, really focusing on my SEO right now and sort of some blog posts because I didn't focus on it for years. So I did really good with paid Google ads or Google local service ads. Like those are my favorite. I love those. But my organic reach, because I didn't pay attention to it at all for years and years and years, is almost hurting me now. So I'm having to pay, right? I'm paying 2 grand a month right now to pump up that SEO. So that's 24 grand out of the account this year that I'm having to pay that I never have before. But so hopefully we'll see. Hopefully that does well for me though.
It will, right? Like I can tell you one thing for certain, which is SEO obviously it takes time. Like the thing
Hmm.
with Google Ads is you will start getting results instantly. Like let's say you start running ads today, maybe in a week or two, you will start getting leads even earlier. But SEO obviously takes time. But the good thing with SEO is if done in the right way, then there are lots of chances that you will keep on getting organic results day in, day out. So that's the best part when it comes to it. So like we were working with a school in, so like they have a lot of camps and they are a school as well. They're in US. They're in a very small region in Espen. Uh, and they were like, okay, we don't really know that are the people that are going to search for us. And we were like, okay, the number will definitely be lower because that's a small region. But the intent that there was that if we are able to optimize the website in a good way, that you will start getting results in the second or third month itself, which is unheard of when it comes to SEO, right? Because it takes more time. But we knew
Hmm.
that it's a small region. The let's say the number of people that we're competing with are less, and that's what we were able to do. That in the second month itself, they were ranking on the first sort of like they were ranking on first in terms of
Yeah.
their organic rankings, and then they're starting to get a lot of organic traffic. And the good thing is that traffic converts really well as well. So that's
Yeah.
the thing that we saw.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about it. So it's good. I'm glad we're finally doing it.
Yeah, that's nice. Cool. So that definitely is, let's say, like as you mentioned, like blogs obviously can be another sort of an area where you can start getting more traffic. Obviously, it will be like you'll have to warm that audience out and everything, but still getting more people onto the website is great. So those are some of the learnings that someone who's starting to, let's say, look at a similar sort of business needs to understand that these are the channels that they need to look at. Uh, and one thing that I can definitely say for anyone that's starting to look at marketing, especially digitally, starting with SEO and starting with organic stuff, as soon as you can start with that, it's great. Like it will take
Yeah.
some time, but sooner
Yeah.
the start you get,
Sooner the start
sooner
is
you.
that's
Mhm.
great advice. And now I'm doing $2,000 a month on just SEO right now, but like, maybe if you were just starting out, maybe you do $500 a month. I don't know. Start,
Yeah.
but do something. I never wrote a blog post before this year, you know. So that's no good. I should have been doing that 10 years ago, really.
Yeah, again, right, like I guess one of the things that I can say with businesses, at times there are that many things to solve for that you don't really know that like again, right, like no one even has that sort of a time of doing everything. So there are certain things that you can do at a particular time, and then the rest has to be done later. So that's also one
Yeah.
of the things that uh, managing everything becomes a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
And like every time you start with something and you're like, okay, this is good, you're like, oh, I should have started that earlier. Like I don't really
Yep.
know
Yeah,
anything
that's true.
uh, which has worked, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have started that earlier. So yeah, I
Yeah.
can totally relate to that. Cool. So the next one that I have for you is anyone that's looking to start business when it comes to not just local services, but business in general, what your advice would be for them, which is a general advice that, okay, this is what you need to focus on when you're looking to start something.
Um, I guess whatever that business is, I would quickly figure out your numbers because if you don't know your numbers, you won't have any money to spend on SEO or Google Ads. You'll be broke. You'll be owing money. I see a ton of businesses, so many businesses. I saw a stat, something like 80% of businesses were unprofitable or something. I don't know. But I've seen way too many businesses that do not know their numbers. Um, they don't build a budget. They don't know what gross margin they should be charging their products at, and then so they literally hurt themselves. They'll do a job for 35% gross margin when really if they had made a budget, it would have told you that they needed 45. And they just think, oh, 35%, I made some great money on this job. And really you're going broke and you're doing it slowly over the year and you're not tracking. And so by the end of the year, you didn't make any money. You actually owe 10 grand or whatever. So for me, it'd be whatever you choose, whatever business you want to do, that's fine. Um, but I would quickly figure out your numbers. Quickly, quickly. Don't do this thing where you ask somebody oh, what's your hourly? What do you charge? Because that doesn't mean anything. Those are their numbers and you have your own numbers.
That's true, right? Like I'm not able to recall the name of that book, but I was just reading it. He's one of the best uh, restaurant owners in US. I'm not able to recall his name, but that's one of the biggest thing that he mentioned, that you should be able to remember your numbers even while you're sleeping. You should know your numbers while you're sleeping. That okay, this is what you spend. This is your gross
Yeah.
margins. This is
Yeah.
every. He was like, that's the first thing
Yeah.
that he
I
checks
and
whenever
I
he's invested.
you know, you were saying like he checks like, so I have you know, I used to put them all in a spreadsheet. Um and that was fine, you know, so I would see it when I was putting in the spreadsheet. But then I took it a step further, and I started getting sort of automated dashboards. So, you know, these sort of dashboards where it's automatically pulling information from my CRM, putting it into a dashboard, and it refreshes once a week. The one I got right now, it refreshes once a week. So that's the first place I go Monday morning, and I go straight to gross profit, and I want to see, did our gross profit go up or did it go down? You know, and if I see, you know, we've had some of the best gross margins that we've ever had the last couple of years. But if I see things that are down, whether it's a single job that's down, or maybe an estimator with his gross margin is going down, or maybe a project manager, and throughout the quarter, like why are his margins down, then you know, then it's a learning opportunity. I'm trying to figure it out. It's all of a sudden it's a learning and training. You know, what happened here? You know, okay, we quoted it low, we took a little bit too much time, we were a little disorganized. Okay, let's not do that again. Get better. You know, and so I'm obsessive with gross margin, but I'm looking at that every single week. So I'm not getting to the end of the year and going, oh, wow, oh man, we lost money. That's not happening. I'm seeing it every single week. So I already know at the end of the year, I'm not even waiting for the bookkeeper. I'm like, oh, we had a great year. You know, I don't even need to see the books really, because I've seen it in real time all year.
That's so true, right? Like I remember we were working with a apparel brand, and like we thought that we were growing every month because the revenue numbers were increasing, the return on ad spend was increasing. But after 4 months, he comes back to us saying that, oh, I was making loss in the last 3 months. And we were like after, like that's not something that you can realize after 4 months, right? Like, what is that sort of a reason that we were not able to understand that? Because right now the complete sort of the strategy has to change. Like where we were thinking that everything is going in the right direction. Um, we don't even know what the issue was. It took us a month to understand that he had some sort of a problem with his logistics, which was not delivering the products at the right time, due to which a lot
Sure.
of people were canceling the products, and we were like, "Oh, we are
Yeah.
stuck." And again, right, like with if like there are, let's say, 10 components to that business, nine were doing exceptionally well, and one was not, which was one of the easiest things to solve for. But since no one was looking at it, it completely derailed the business for the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
So I totally agree to
And
what you're saying.
and once you're behind in profit or margin or whatever, it's hard to get back up, because now you got to
Yeah,
make double. You got to make double to get back. So
yeah,
it's a fight. You do not want to get behind on, especially gross margin,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
So that's great. So one question that we got from one of the previous guests was like, so one thing that we do is I'll do it with you as well, that before we end the podcast, I'll get a question from you, which we will
Mm.
ask the next guest. So that's a
Mm.
thing that we do. So the question that I got from someone was, what's the one quality uh, that you feel that every person should have, irrespective of him being
Mm.
a business owner or not? What's the one quality that you feel like? What's one quality or a trait that anyone and everyone should have?
Um, for sure, I would say, um, I like it when someone is positive or an optimist. If you are negative or a pessimist, it's really hard to grow and do better and make changes, right? Because you don't really believe that you can do it or the world can change or anything like that. But when you are positive and you're an optimist and you have a silly idea, you really do think you can make it happen. Um, and so I take this sort of thinking into when I meet new people. So a lot of people, when you meet someone, you will start them down here, right? You just met a new person, you don't know anything about them, and you'll sort of start them down here, and you'll make them work up to, the height would be your best friend, say. So you make them work from the bottom up. I sort of flip that. When I meet someone, I like to sort of treat or act around them like they're my best friend, and we work down from there. You know what I mean? It's such a much more positive way to go about things, and it's a nice way to interact with people. Throughout your day, when you're doing business, when you're doing networking, it's way more fun. So that's my answer.
So that's your networking mantra that you follow that.
Absolutely.
It,
Yeah, like
that's
networking for me is networking in BNI, it's not like a hard job for me because in my head I'm actually just going there to hang out with some friends, and I'm trying to get my friends referrals, and I'm trying to make their business successful. So it's really like I'm not worn down by going to a BNI meeting or, you know, doing any of that stuff. It's like it's fun for me.
that's so true, right? Like when I joined BNI, it was the meeting starts obviously everywhere at 7 in the morning, and I was like, why would anyone start a meeting at 7 in the morning when half of the world is still asleep? And when you're young, you're like, why would I even wake up at 6 or maybe at 5:30 to go for a meeting? But then when I went, I was like, where is this energy coming from? And then people were all they were in their suits, they were formally dressed, everything. And then the complete sort of an atmosphere was amazing. It was something that felt like, okay, this is a really warm sort of an atmosphere. You can talk to people, you can learn a lot of things. Obviously, you can get a lot of business. So
Those are all
things
the
started changing.
hustlers. Hey,
Yeah,
those are
true.
all the hustlers. They're all the people getting things actually done and actually implementing, new ideas in their businesses. Like that's those people.
That's true.
Yeah.
Cool. So, as I mentioned before we end this podcast, the one thing that I would want to know is the one question that you would like me to ask the
The
next
next
guest.
guest. Okay.
Yes.
I have one.
So,
I have one. My question would be, if you're looking to start a business, um, what kind of things are you looking for that are going to tell you, is this a good idea to start this business or is this a bad idea? Because I think, like me, I sort of fell into electrical. I never chose this path, and I'm really happy, no regrets. Um, but now that, once you build one business and then you think, oh, maybe I should build some other businesses, I guess that would be my curiosity. How do you judge whether this new business idea is a good idea or a bad idea? That's my question.
for sure. This is really an amazing one. I talked to, like as I mentioned, I talked to a business coach. He talked about it a bit. So once that podcast is, let's say, edited and ready, I'll definitely send it across to you so that you can see that. But at the same time, I'll obviously ask the next guest as well.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
th thanks a lot for doing this. Thanks a lot for taking
Yeah.
out the time, sharing those insights. Learned a lot from you. I guess the audience will also get to learn a lot. And I hope that someone can take those insights and build something of value.
Me too. That'd be amazing.
Really would be amazing. Before you sign off, I'll have to just keep you for 30 seconds.
Yep.
I like